Well, new fallout tonight on a debate that has played out on this broadcast for the better part of a week now. It started with President Obama suggesting that the terror group ISIS, or the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, should not be called Islamic because that's an insult to Islam, which the president said is a peaceful religion. But critics said the facts prove that there is a radical, hardline version of Islam festering right now in the Middle East, and it needs to be addressed honestly and without political correctness. Whether one believes it is truly Islamic or not, make no mistake about it, there are dangerous factions within Islam, and some of their practices are barbaric. In Egypt and Jordan, two of the more moderate Muslim countries, strong majorities support killing anyone who leaves Islam and stoning women who they believe have committed adultery. In more hardline countries, it's of course far worse. Just in the last 2 days, we have brought you Miriam Ibrahim and Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Miss Ali, shown here on the right, had her genitals mutilated as a child in the name of Islam. She still has a death sentence hanging over her for speaking out on the rights of women in Muslim countries. Miriam, on the left, was sentenced to death by hanging in Sudan for the crime of allegedly abandoning Islam. Here's a little from each of them. Within 6 weeks, you were found guilty of these charges. Did they give you the chance to renounce your Christian faith?
I was given 3 days. In addition to that, while I was in prison, some people came to visit me from the Muslim Scholars Association. These were imams that created an intervention by reciting parts of the Quran for me. I faced a tremendous amount of pressure.
Individuals within Islam who dissent are regarded as heretics, apostates, and they are banished. Individuals from outside of Islam who point to certain uncomfortable truths about Islam are declared Islamophobic.
And what was the response to our taking up this issue? Well, first, we spoke with a representative of CARE, or the Council for American Islamic Relations. After his appearance, he compared Fox News and its viewers to the terror group ISIS, tweeting out, "Fox News and ISIS have something in common. They don't tolerate anything different, and their rhetoric invites calls for violence." Then last night, we asked a member of one of the country's largest Muslim groups to react to Ayaan Hirsi Ali's speech at Yale. He came on purporting to be a voice of reason, defending her right to speak. Or did he? Listen to this.
I defend her right to speak and don't support any calls for her event to be canceled because my faith compels me to have that belief. Although I do find it surprising that a student group at a prestigious institution like Yale would bring a speaker who has on record called for the military conquest and defeat of Muslims, but what's more troubling for me
So now it's Yale's fault.
No. Well, obviously you know that's not what I said, which is why I said that I defend her right.
But listen, Harris, does she not get to opine and say what she thinks about Islam, or about radical Islam, about Islam, having undergone what she did?
Well, Megan, I guess I have to say it a third time, that I do defend her right to hold those views and to speak on her views.
Right, but then you criticize the university for inviting her.
So
she can speak all she wants as long as there's no forum for it.
Instead of espousing a barbaric perversion of Islam, we invite her to speak about and understand the largest single Muslim community worldwide, who is in 206 countries in the world, has built 15,000 mosques around the world.
You hear yourself, Harris? Joining me now, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, author, and contributing editor to the National Review. This is a man who used to put terrorists in jail for a living. Your take on that?
Well, this is what they do. I mean, what you see a lot in Muslim Brotherhood rhetoric is a reference to the Prophet Muhammad saying in an authoritative hadith, that war is deception. They counsel that looking the infidel in the eye and practicing deception is not only authorized, it's recommended. So this is exactly what happens. They dare you to call them on things, knowing that they have created an atmosphere of intimidation where if you do call them on it, you're an Islamophobe, you get dragged into court, you have to pay ruinous legal expenses, you get barred from the media, you get barred from the campus. This is what the game is.
Now, CARE is a long-standing problem. I mean, they have a long history of threatening to sue you, all sorts of threats. They love to do that.
But CARE is Hamas, so...
Well, although they deny it.
Yeah, well, they deny a lot of things.
Okay, but Harris I was surprised at, because he's come on the show and he has said much more reasonable things in the past.
Yeah, but see, My understanding is Harris, I think the last time I was on with him, he explained that he's an Ahmadi Muslim.
Nobody knows what that is.
Well, but they get persecuted by Sunnis because they're deemed to be apostates because they differ on them on various points. And the thing you find with these different Muslim sects is they say that their Islam is the true Islam and everybody else's is the false Islam. So he then criticizes Ayaan Hirsi Ali for referring to what you correctly point out is a mainstream interpretation of Islam, Islamic supremacism, which is the dynamic Islam of the Middle East. We can't pretend that Islamic supremacism doesn't exist just because we wish Islam was what Jafar said it is.
He came out last night, Harris, and said, yes, free speech, I'm all for it. This is important, and she's entitled to say what she wants. But I'm so surprised that a university like Yale would allow her to come out and basically bash Islam. That's why she's gotten in trouble, for not just speaking about her own experiences as a woman, but for taking it one step further to Islam. They may have a problem with that, Andy. They may have a problem with her doing that second step. But my point to him was, and there's no reason to go through it again. You know what she went through. This is a man, Harris Zafar, coming on the program. He didn't have to undergo it. And he wants to shut her up. Why can't she talk about it? Why are so many in the Muslim faith trying to shut up Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who at a minimum has earned the right to criticize those who did this to her and the religion in whose name they did it? Because
by pretending to be moderates and daring people to call them on it, knowing that most people will not call them on it, they have a very good thing going here.
Because they get accused of being Islamophobic if they call them on it.
Yes, but but from their perspective, by portraying themselves, by feigning moderation, they have a great fundraising operation, and they're making real progress on the Sharia implementation agenda, which is the thing, by the way, that unites the Muslim Brotherhood ideology with all these other groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the other jihadist organizations. It's a common ideology. They have differences about tactics, but their ideology is common. And they can't afford to let anybody realize that, because if people realize that the mainstream or the Islamic groups that are mostly identified as Islamic groups in the United States actually share an ideology with Al-Qaeda and ISIS,
not as extreme.
Done.
You're not saying they're as extreme, but you're saying they have extremist elements to that.
I am saying that they all want to implement Sharia. Some of them want to do it by...
But the CARE guy was telling me there's moderate Sharia and there's crazy Sharia.
Right. There's moderate Islamists, too. An Islamist is somebody... This is great. Moderation, right? I'm a limited government conservative. I have no problem with social welfare programs, but I think the state should run them. I don't think the Fed should. By saying that, I'm a right-wing, whack-job extremist nut. But if I was a Muslim and I took the position that I want the United States Constitution supplanted by Sharia law, but I'm not willing to blow up a bridge to make that happen, I'm a moderate. You figure it out. I can't.
Andy McCarthy, always good to see you.
Good to see you.